National Collegiate Athletic Association, or the NCAA, and what it does for about 1,281 institutions, conferences, organizations, and individuals alike. Along with colleges and universities throughout the United States and Canada, the NCAA regulates sports and keeps them safe, keeps the student athletes safe, and it has been doing that ever since it got its official name in 1910. The headquarters are currently in Indianapolis, Indiana. NCAA gives collegiate sports structure, and today I'm going to tell you more about the ultimate goal of this association. Now that you know a little more about the NCAA, let me go into detail on what I'm talking about. I'll start by telling you how unsafe sports used to be before the NCAA was established. The rules and regulations of sports a lot, they fluctuated, such as rowing was one of the first collegiate sports, and a lot of times they would change with region and school, so a team might show up to an event and have to get used to a whole new set of rules that day. Same with football. Football is very unsafe, very unprofessional. Student athletes were being injured and even dying a lot by the sport. So the White House had two conferences held by Theodore Roosevelt to reform football practices and stop injuries, because there was a point where people were like, this is enough. They wanted to stop football altogether. Chancellor Henry McCracken of NYU, New York University, organized the meetings of 13 colleges to change the rules of football, thus forming the International Athletic Association of the United States, or the IAAUS, in 1906. It would take its name later, NCAA, in 1910, as I told you earlier. Now that you know why the NCAA formed, let me tell you how it's broken down and how it works. This is sort of the government of the NCAA. It's broken down a lot like the White House, with cabinets and committees. There's the legislative structure that passes down further into athletic directors and so on like that. The NCAA passes many rules and such things like that, so there's a lot of debating and vetoing that takes place, sort of like when the United States wants to pass a law. So when someone says, this should be a rule in this sport, they all, they gather around the cabinets and committees of the NCAA, and they discuss whether or not it would be beneficial, the pros and the cons, and then they decide whether or not they think it should. No, it shouldn't be a rule, or they should make it a rule. Of course, much like the U.S. government with the cabinets and committees, there's one man at the top. It's the president. The current president is Mark Emmert. He has been the president since 2011, and there's been many since before him, but there's no terms that you have to run. I mean, it's just your president until you kick the bucket or decide to leave. Now that you know about the structure and how things work, I'll share with you about violations and actions taken against them. When people break the rules, members of schools have to pledge to honor the rules. So every school, every coach, every athlete knows about the rules. It's very simple. It's very plain. If rules are continuously broken, the school will have to appear before the NCAA, kind of like a court, but when you appear before them, you're going to get some sort of a punishment. The general punishment is probation in that particular sport. Whether it be that athlete in that sport or that whole sport, maybe put on probation for a while, so they have time to learn and not make that mistake again. There's two types of cases. There's secondary, which normally ends up in probation, and there's major cases. Major cases, if the crime is bad enough, NCAA will give you what's called the death penalty, and they will ban the sport from your school, from the NCAA, for life. And that's the worst punishment that you could possibly get from the NCAA. These punishments are made to keep student athletes safe and in line. Now, last I'm going to tell you about player compensation. This is a controversial topic because some people believe that players in college should be paid. They don't like that they make video games and such about them. But the general rule is a scholarship for a player. They do get paid with an education. They give a performance for a team, and they get an education, and also they have to keep their good grades, or they will be kicked off the team. So they have to earn it. It's much like a high school sport. It's a privilege to play for a college, and your community and your college and Your coaches will support you through that, but each athlete is paid with an education, and all athletes are treated the same, no matter how famous they may get in the future, how famous they are in college. They're all treated the same, as you guys probably know about. Athletes like Randy Moss, who almost completely blew it in college, blew it in probably 3 different colleges before he finally got it right at Marshall. They don't tolerate drug use, they don't tolerate taking bribes, they don't tolerate things like that. So all athletes are treated the same, given an education for their time on the field or on the court or the mat. In conclusion, the NCAA keeps student athletes safe and in line, along with their coaches and their schools. They make sure sports are contained and well structured, and that the rules are simple and effective. Without the structure that the NCAA has provided for colleges, that basketball scholarship might not seem so appealing anymore.
Nice job.